Welcome to the 4th season of JustWannaQuilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School. I'm Professor Elizabeth Townsend-Gard, and I just wanna quilt. So what do we do on this podcast? We talk to all kinds of people. We talk to quilters and entrepreneurs and business people and industry people, and sometimes famous people stop by. I don't know, pretty much anybody. Come listen to the podcast. I hope you enjoy it, and if you like it, join our Facebook group. So today we interview Barbara Garlock and Virginia Hodge of DC Quilters. They're here to talk to us about something really cool. They're doing a quilt challenge for DC-statehood, and it is being supported by the League of Women Voters of Orange Coast. So take a look at it, listen. It seems really cool. If this is something that sounds interesting to you, please reach out to them. We did this interview a bit ago, and the deadline's coming up, and I'm feeling really guilty about it. But reach out to them and see if you can get extensions if this is interesting to you. But come listen to us talk about quilts for DC and statehood and quilting and all kinds of other things.
Good morning. All right. So it's pretty casual. We're going to start with the basic question, which is, can you each tell me your name and where you're calling from?
I'm Barbara Garlock, and I am a resident and citizen of the District of Columbia. I'm actually on vacation in Western Massachusetts, though.
Oh, hey. I'm Virginia Hodge. I'm a resident of Northern Virginia, Oak Hill or Herndon, whichever way you want to call it. Or currently, I'm with my partner out in Winchester, Virginia.
Oh, very nice. And we also start with this question. For each of you, do you have a memory of someone sewing or quilting in your life? Your first memory of someone sewing or quilting in your life?
Well, for me, my mom got a bee in her bonnet to sew me clothes when I was young, probably 5 or 6 years old. So that was my first memory. And then later in life, I found some quilts that were put away by my late grandmother, whom I never met. She died well before I was born. And so that kind of started me thinking.
And my father's mother, my grandmother, she made quilts for all of us, all by hand, all pieced by hand, quilted by hand. And but I mostly knew her as a young child for making my doll clothes. So every time I got a new doll, I knew my grandmother would make me more doll clothes. And I found a letter from my older cousin who also had just gotten a new doll, and Grandma, what are you going to make me new doll clothes?
I love it.
And then of course my mother and older sister sewed, and my mother also embroidered. So I started embroidering at 6, and my mother taught me to sew.
Very cool. Tell me a little bit about there's a quilt hanging up behind, and we're a podcast and people won't see it, but it looks like you've got a quilt behind you. Is that right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that quilt.
It's called Vote, and it has the Democratic donkey and the Republican elephant on it. I originally started this in the 2016 election, inspired by Hillary Clinton, a woman of a major party running for president, which was an awesome milestone for women in politics. And then it got put aside for a while, as quilts often do. And then I got inspired to finish it. And then the DC Modern Quilt Guild, which is one of 2 guilds I belong to, had a patriotic quilt show challenge this year. So that inspired me to finish it up. And it's a collage technique. And it's a little hard to see from where we all are. But actually, the blue donkey turns into a purple muzzle, which turns into a purple elephant trunk, which turns into a red elephant, symbolizing that it's not black and white. It's not red and blue. It's shades of red, blue, and purple.
Nice.
And wanting to encourage people to go vote.
Nice. All right. So that's so insanely perfect transition, like we planned it. So tell me a little bit about your project. Tell us why you're here this morning. I'm excited about your project, and I'm really curious. Tell us a little bit more.
Well, this is Barbara, and I have been doing a little bit of work at the grassroots level in statehood issues. I live in the district, and being disenfranchised is very un-American, and it feels terrible, quite honestly. So I was brainstorming with some statehood folks, and we all decided it would be fun to do something that really educated the nation, because most people have no idea what the status of DC residents are. There are 700,000 of us, and we are taxed without representation. And I could go on and on. But most people, even educated people, really have no idea that we have a special status and that we are disenfranchised. So we figured, let's go educate them. And we like to be visual. And someone said, why don't we do, an AIDS quilt kind of public art project?
Right.
And that takes a lot of work and more than just one or two people to put together, no matter how you want to scale it up.
Right.
And I've done some quilting. I am not in the big quilt world ecosystem like Virginia is. And so I went out to find somebody like Virginia. And through the Guild, which I am a member of, there's a social action committee. And Virginia raised her hand, and the two of us concocted this project. We decided we wanted a backbone organization, and we wanted to make sure it was nonpartisan, because voting rights is not a partisan issue. It's a political issue, but it is not partisan. Every American citizen who deserves the right to have representation. And so the League of Women Voters, which is 500,000 strong across America, the local chapter, has agreed to really sort of sponsor this project, because it's an all-volunteer organization and everybody does projects this way. And they've been terrific partners, and we are really thrilled to be associated with them. And Virginia really took the lead in putting the quilting parts of this together. So I'll pass the baton to you.
Sure. This is Virginia, and I have participated in a number of quilt challenges, some at the local or friend level, some were for art projects, some when I was president of my other Quilt Guild chapter. You had a challenge that you had to create for members to do in the course of the year. And we even had a instructor, Mel Beach, come and talk to us about quilt challenges. And
Very
you've probably
cool.
heard of her. And
I know Mel.
yes, so she was very inspiring about participating, and I participated in some national ones as well. So I was able to bring that knowledge to Barbara and the League of Women Voters of DC about how to structure a challenge and time frames and sizes, because we're looking at both a virtual online show, and then we hope in 2022 to have also an actual in-person exhibits of some of the works of these people. And a very important part, as Barbara mentioned, was education. And one aspect of that education is there's a whole world of Washington, D.C. I am a native Northern Virginian, which is very, very rare. We have a very transient population because of the military and the federal government and how those change over in time. But I grew up with DC as part of my life, and a lot of people don't know that there is a DC world beyond the federal government. And it's a really
It's like
cool world.
it's like Las Vegas beyond the Strip, that there's this kind of notion of like these or where I live, New Orleans beyond the French Quarter. Like there's an incredibly huge, vibrant world beyond these kind of
culture, there's
spaces.
Food, there's history. I mean, and we get, as residents and area residents, of course, we get a lot of benefits like the Smithsonian Institution and the zoo and all those other aspects. But there's also this other world that people don't know about, just like any other state.
So anybody who wants information can go to the League of Women Voters DC site, lwvdc.org, and we're right there, and we have our own page. The project is called Quilts for DC, with a 4 as a number. And actually quiltsfordc@gmail.com is an easy way to access us. But we also have a Facebook group page.
Very cool.
We now have about 70 something members. I'd say 2/3 have committed that they're going to be making a quilt.
Very exciting.
And the rest are really good cheerleaders and interested in the project. And one thing that we do along the way is we we put stories of images that inspire, that really educate about what DC is. So over the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've done little stories on some of the museums that are not fed, like the Textile Museum, the GAR Museum, which has the world's most amazing quilt collection. Some of the murals that are around in DC, and then some of the neighborhoods where just normal people, have their kids on soccer leagues and they have restaurants, and there's really deep history, especially African American history, because that's part of the story of DC that we want to make sure people understand. And so one thing we're doing on Facebook is really trying to get that out there. And people
So
have.
I'm at your quilt challenge. It's going now. And it says that, so if people are interested in their listening, you have till September 30th, 2021. You can enter as many quilts as you like. There's no limit. And it says the max size is 96 inches in circumference. That's with no side longer than 36 inches. And the minimum size, you've got a minimum size of 8 by 12. So you can't do teeny, teeny, tiny. Any shape is acceptable as long as it can be hung. And use any pattern or design, whether original, free, or commercial, with acknowledgement of the source, right of attribution. Good job. Inspiration based on imagery, photographs, murals, artwork, or any creation. So I think this is so insane. Now, let's say I'm out there. I think this is super cool, but I feel a little bit shy because I don't know much about DC, except that I do want to support you. I think it's great. What do you think I should do? Like, how do I make something? Like, what are you looking for in these quilts?
Something that is about DC potentially becoming the 51st state. It can be something about the number 51. It can be something about the cultural icons within DC. The page that we have, actually it's 2-pager, I'll write up on the League of Women Voters of DC page. We have a list of resources that you can go to. We have fun facts. We have, for example, the oldest running fish market in the country from 1805. We have a vibrant community, that big Chinatown, people don't know there's a Chinatown. There's incredible diversity. It's, the home of the half smoke. It's the home of mambo sauce. It's the home of go-go music. Just a whole range of cultural things that could celebrate a new state. And it's the fact that it would be the first state brought into the Union since 1959, when Alaska and Hawaii joined.
Yeah. Well, this is really great. Yeah, it's got tons and tons of things. And if you're listening and you're like, oh, I do want to do that, the resource and inspiration at the end of the announcement is really terrific, because you're like, oh, I could do that, right? And the idea is sort of to really, it seems like this is what I'm getting from this, is it is to more personalize DC, to sort of explore it as more than just the federal capital, that it is where people live and thrive and all of that. And so, as you said, Chinatown, world's largest, the Folger Shakespeare Library, making things that sort of show what the whole world of DC is, kind of the idea.
Right. Yeah. And it's a nonpartisan, but if people want to go into the more political side of it, they're certainly welcome to do so, because there is the issue of voting rights. And, DC residents who are American citizens have to be, they can be in the military, they can be called up, they pay their taxes, but they're only allowed to vote for president and vice president of the United States. I mean, they can vote for local government, yes, but they don't have they have a representative and a senator in Congress, but they can't really do anything. They're a silent partner, if you will. And they don't really have control over their own budgets and things. People from other states get to decide for them, which no other state has to deal with. They get to make their own decisions. So,
Interesting.
We
Nadine?
acknowledge there's a political element, but
Yeah.
people are free to go with whatever aspect they want. It's
I love it.
nonpartisan.
And is there hope? Do you sort of, where's the, I mean, I know we're all wondering whether the filibuster will get removed or not. I mean, that's like the whole world in our world at the moment. But is there, what's the state of, I guess, hopefulness?
Of the statehood
on-
movement, I think
Yeah.
we started 2021 with a fair amount of hope. And, Congress is working its way into figuring out how to get any of their work done. And there are other bills that are certainly take precedent over. HR 51 was passed. The House actually passed the Statehood Act, and it's now sitting in the Senate. And how that moves forward, we don't know. It's up to Chuck Schumer at this point. But I think everybody feels like it doesn't matter. We have been working at this for decades. We're as close now as we've been in a long, long time. And we're just ready to keep speaking up, respectfully, but speaking up, because we're all kind of fed up.
That makes sense. And that's what quilts do, right? That's part of the tradition of quilts, is speaking up. And that it, as you said, the AIDS quilts, we've got the Social Justice Sewing Academy that sort of is a huge part of our influence. We have the Threads of Resistance, which was after Trump had gotten elected. We have protest quilts, celebration quilts, explanation quilts. Like, we have lots. I mean, quilts have always told stories and helped sort of causes. So yeah, it's insanely great to have this as part of the tradition and to have this happening. I hope those listening will enjoy this and join in. And it's been such a delight to have you. I can't wait. Will you come back and talk to us about how things progress and keep us posted on all the things that are happening and all of that?
Oh, definitely.
We'd love
awesome.
Thank
to,
you.
especially as we get closer to our exhibition, so people can see
absolutely.
things online and maybe visit in person.
Yeah.
Yes,
Quilt-
that would be
Quilt
so
for
great.
DC. Right.
Yes.
Definitely.
Come join the fun.
That sounds insanely great. All right, hold on just a second. You okay with me posting this? Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, hold on one second.
So that's the show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. This is Just Wanna Quilt. I'm Elizabeth Townsend Guard, a professor at Tulane University Law School, and I just totally want to quilt all the time and not edit podcasts. Anyway, if you're interested in this project, please reach out to them. I know the deadline is really, really soon, if not past. And I do apologize for not getting the podcast out faster. But they said that they still are looking for entries, and they were very nice about all of it. And do think about it. It seems like a really great project. So that's it. Join us on our Facebook group if you want, Instagram, TikTok. We're around, and of course, I hope you get a chance to quilt today.